So we are joined today by an incredible person with an incredible resume. So firstly, Pete, I would like to say thank you for having us here today, Mr. Pete Cohen. What I'd like to do, if we can, is just go back a little bit and just sort of give us a brief sort of history of who Pete Cohen is.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Look, I'm 54 pretty soon. It's a long story. I mean, how far do you want me to go back? Okay, I'll go back a bit. I was born 6 weeks early. I was in a hurry. I was in a hurry to come out. I've been in a hurry ever since. I hated school. I just showed you before we went live. I showed you a couple of my school reports that I found. I left school with 1 GCSE. Became an entrepreneur when I was 9 years old. My brother was 4 years older than me, and he had a paper round. And I remember he was earning money, and I was thinking, well, he's got money and he can buy these things. So how do I do that? So I went to the paper shop and I said, how old do you have to be a paper boy? And they said 11. And the guy said, how old are you? And I went, 11. I was only 9.
Yeah.
And I did a paper round. I was earning £9 a week. And then I worked out that I could do 3 rounds. So I was earning quite a lot of money, more than my brother. And that was my journey into entrepreneurship. I've been really fortunate in the work I do. I've written 20 books. Yeah. I've spoken all over the world. I've worked with some of the greatest athletes that have ever walked the face of the earth. But I feel like I've only just got started, to be honest, in empowering people to be empowered.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, I've followed you for a number of years now, and you really do inspire me with sort of pretty much all of your words.
Thank you.
So you do have a particular interest in sports science.
Yeah.
So would you mind just telling us a little bit more about how you kind of got into like the health and fitness side of things?
Yeah. So my mum was a serial dieter. She literally, it's one of my first memories, is just seeing my mum getting on the scales and looking for the number. But I didn't know what she was doing. And I noticed that when she got off, sometimes she was in a good mood, sometimes she was in a bad mood. And as I got older, I realized what was going on. She had issues with her weight. So she would do what so many people do. They'd lose weight, they'd put it back on again. And I suppose psychologically, I must have sown a seed of, I want to find a solution to that particular challenge, which many people have. So when I left school with 1 O-level, I did GCSEs. They wouldn't let me retake them because I'd done so badly. So I ended up doing this course in leisure studies, which then I found an interest. Well, I was always interested in sport, but I basically bluffed my way into university, did a degree in sports science, became an aerobics instructor, became a personal trainer, was pretty successful in helping people. But I dived deeper because I'm the sort of person, just like you, I would imagine in the work that you do, you want to find answers. You want to make things work. So I created a weight loss program that was really focused on the way people were thinking. And that became hugely successful. And it was bought by Bupa in 2003 for £2.4 million, which was crazy because I started it in a gym with 4 people. I suppose that's kind of was my journey in that industry, the health and fitness industry.
Okay, so with that side of things, then how important do you see that the mindset is an individual when it comes to weight loss, but also when it comes to entrepreneurialism?
Yeah, it's a difficult word, entrepreneurialism. Don't ask me to spell it. It's got no chance. It's like spelling the word dyslexic. I am dyslexic. I still can't spell that word. Entrepreneurship. I think I can spell it. Look, mindset is everything. I mean, if you think about what separates us from other animals, it's our mind. Yeah. And what people don't understand about the mind is the mind plays tricks on us. So a lot of people in the world, in fact, someone got in trouble for saying this recently, a very well-known influencer was talking about ADHD and talking about how the impact that diet has on that. And he then actually had to apologize about what he said. So I often have to be careful about what I say. So ADHD is a thing, but so is attention overload disorder.
Okay.
So how much? Well, that's what I think ADHD is. It's just, there's too much information, and if you're taking in too much information, you're going to have a problem with your mind because the mind can only decipher a certain amount of information. So I wonder what your life would have been like if you had grown up when technology really started to boom. I would have been complete wreck with my mind, with my busy mind. I would have been, my mind would have been all over the place. So let me just give a brief explanation of what the mind is. The mind is the brain and the body in action.
Yeah.
So when we see what this is doing, it's a direct result of what our mind is doing. What is the nature of the mind? In fact, there's a picture up here. That guy, he was my coach for 16 years.
Wow.
He's not alive anymore. He's like Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And he helped me in so many ways. And one day he said to me, Pete, what's the nature of the mind? And I gave him an answer. And he kind of laughed at me. And then he said, no, the nature of the mind is the mind plays tricks on you. Yeah. That's what the mind does. Yeah. It plays tricks on you. Yeah. So then he said, how do you conquer your mind? Again, I said something and he laughed. He said, the only way you can conquer your mind is you have to observe the mind, but you have to find humor in what you're thinking. If you can't find humor in what you're thinking, you will be a victim of what you're thinking. So in Buddhism, there is a word called dukkha. In Hinduism, it's called maya, which is the tricks that the mind plays on you, the illusions that the mind plays tricks on you. In a world right now where we have 40% of people in the Western world who are feeling isolated and alone, and how much of that is to do with people not taking ownership or maybe not even being aware of what the mind does. So the mind is a channel. Yeah. Be careful where you put it. If you put it into something that is you enjoy and something that serves you and something that makes a difference, fantastic. If you're putting your mind on validation, if you're putting your mind on being accepted, if you're putting your mind on just feeling good in the moment, then you could have a problem.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of when it comes to mindset then, how do you feel that people can work on that? Because I'd say I'm quite a resilient person, but if I hit a struggle, then I know I've hit a struggle. And if you don't mind me asking, I know since sort of 2011 it's been a difficult time, but certainly this last year, are you kind of happy to sort of talk through that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, your question is vast and big in terms of what we can do as humans. We have to stop and step back and look at the world differently. Because if you don't look at the world differently, you're going to realize what the world wants from you. And what the world wants from us is our attention. The world wants us to overconsume. So if you can't stop and step back and look at things differently, you're just going to be a victim and do what everyone else is doing. And I think that life is quite difficult. I don't think life is about becoming. I think it's about overcoming. Yeah. You know, because in fact, I was listening to one of Stephen Bartlett's podcasts, and he was interviewing someone who talked about happiness. And the person said since the 90s in the UK and in America, happiness has declined. And they were talking about why. And one of the hypotheses around that is that we're living lives that are just way too comfortable, way too easy. So people aren't facing challenges which force them to do something that is difficult, that leads to a feeling of happiness. And we have all of this entitlement around, well, I'm just entitled to everything. I don't have to do anything. I just can do nothing and carry on living, which is a type of living, but it's not a type of thriving, which I think humans deep down want to thrive. So in answer to your question, 2011, my wife was given 18 months to live with a very aggressive brain tumor. I found a treatment in America that was incredible. I mean, literally, it cost $250,000, but there was nothing for her here. And I admire her so much because I didn't make her do anything. She was empowered enough to go, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And we went on to live an amazing life. And then unfortunately, maybe 3 years ago, she got re-diagnosed. This time she was given 6 months to live. And I almost gave up. I have a friend who just said, you can't give up. I found a treatment in Germany and it was unreal. It was a virus treatment. And it triggered an immune response, and she made the most incredible recovery. Like you couldn't make it up. It was like a Hollywood film. It's like, how does this happen? But then unfortunately she got COVID, and on May 19th, 2023, she passed away. And of course, it was ridiculously difficult. I mean, like, it's still difficult.
Yeah.
But her motto was just get on with it. That was her motto. But also, what she taught me is where you are isn't who you are.
Yeah.
So where you are is circumstantial, right? So what was amazing about her is a diagnosis she was given. She could have bought into the diagnosis, but she didn't. She bought into something beyond where she was. She knew who she wanted to be. And my big kind of lesson around all of this right now is, okay, I'm a widower. Is that who I am? No, it's part of who I am, but I am more. I am more than that. So, you know, we were just talking before about one of the people that is in your crew that's filming, you know, a young guy. And I was talking about, you know, who are you? You know, what do you do? What makes you come alive? And he's young, and he knows that already. Yeah. That realizing that where he is not where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And you think about all the people in the world right now that are just obsessed with where they are right now and what they have, and I don't think that that's really all that important. I think what's important is to really help people work out who they are at their core.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's like I asked you who you are. What did you say?
Who I am.
Yeah.
I am someone who enjoys meeting new people and helping people wherever I can.
And I said, where did that come from? And you said,
well, you asked me, did that first start when I was born? And I said, well, yeah, I helped my mum by
because it was an
easy birth.
Giving her an easy birth.
Yeah.
And you laugh at that, but who knows? Yeah. Maybe you did, because you were ordained to come into this world and make life better for people by your nature. Is that nature or nurture? I don't know, but it sounds to me that is who you are.
I would say it's a very big part of me, and it is something that has developed from being as far back as I could remember. I was always the one that they called on to do things, because I wouldn't say I was a people pleaser, but I would say that I always wanted to do things well. Yeah. So if my parents wanted the house cleaning, my brother was left-handed, and he used to play on that a lot, that he couldn't hoover and he couldn't clean properly. So he'd do a half-assed job, and then it'd fall on me as the youngest to kind of go behind what he'd done. So I think from that very early age, it was, if you do things well, you'll get sort of, you know, more opportunities to do more things.
I think this is where, as entrepreneurs, however old you are, I think one of the key fundamentals is you've really got to look at your story and realise that your biography is part of who you are. Yeah. And, you know, if you have this, look, we're all in the story-making business, right? That's we all got a story to tell. But how much of our stories, what we've been through, and some of it difficult and traumatic, has given us something that we wouldn't have had if we hadn't have been through that. Yeah. So in terms of entrepreneurs, it's important for them to look at their uniqueness, to accept their uniqueness. Yeah. Like, you know, your fingerprint, even identical twins, their fingerprints, they're not the same. So there is a uniqueness about all of us. But what else do we have that is our onlyness, that only you can do? That I can't do what you do. I can't be the person that I could try and copy you, which is what a lot of people try and do, be like anyone else. That's almost like the world says that's an easy thing to do. I think it's the hardest thing to do, actually, to be someone else. You can't be someone else. Yeah. The most challenging thing is to be yourself and realize I don't need to be anybody else. I'm good enough. But we live in a world that says, no, you're not. Yeah. No, you're not good enough. You need to do this. You need to sign up to that. You need to buy this. You need to associate with these people. So I was involved with Big Brother many, many years ago, and you see what happens in that environment. People trying to be them, not trying to be someone else. And then eventually they kind of break down, and many of them get to a point where it's difficult to be yourself because of the attachments that many of us have that hold us back.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, in terms of being an entrepreneur, when I was growing up, I wasn't surrounded by anyone who had a business. I probably knew one person. One of my dad's friends had a business, so I went to work for when I was sort of 14, 15 on building sites. But I didn't have anyone to look up to in my immediate circle, and it was always go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get a pension, get a house and a car and that kind of thing. And even from a very young age, I couldn't confine myself to that. I couldn't understand why I didn't want to be like that. Yeah. I didn't want to work the 9 to 5. even from a very early age.
And it's a knowing. And you can imagine the amount of people that know that, but don't listen to that knowing, that authentic self, and still go ahead with the norms of what's expected to them, and end up wake up one day and think, is this all there is? And have a midlife crisis, or even take their life because they just realize, what am I doing? I'm so unhappy. And in many cases, it's because they're not doing what really makes their soul come alive. So I take my hat off to you. And that actually, if you look at what the word entrepreneur means, many people think it means someone who's going to take a risk in the pursuit of profit, but it has a much deeper meaning. It comes from a Sanskrit word, which means you have a drive to do something, like a fire within you that it can't go out, you know, and knowing what your fire is. If you don't know what your fire is and you're an entrepreneur, good luck. Because how many people are there right now who are making noise about something, right? Why should you listen to them? People are craving authenticity. People are craving the real deal more than ever. Do you not see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, are you real? Can I trust you? Who are you? What do you stand for? Why should I follow you? And that's why it's so important for people to know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're coming from a place of genuine wanting to add value. So, you know, what's his name? Simon Squibb.
Yeah.
So Simon, who I've watched on social media, I actually was at a TED talk he did the other day, and I met him. He's very genuine about what's your dream, and he goes up asking everyone what their dream is and how he's written it. But he knows who he is.
Yeah.
You know, he quite clearly, he's not. No one is perfect. No one is the finished article, but he quite clearly knows, who am I? I am here to make your dream a reality. Yeah. And I take my hat off to him. It's made me also realize that I want to give more away. I've got a lot to give, a lot of content to give. And I want to make more of that available to people. Some people think I'm mad, but...
With Simon, I'd actually reach out to him a while back to see if I could donate something to one of his causes. Yeah. To one of his individuals. I didn't hear back, though, so...
Well, I'll reach out to him again for you on your behalf, and you never know. Just tell me what you want me to tell him. Because this is the key of entrepreneurship. It's not what you know. That helps. It's who are you, right? What do you stand for? And also, who do you know? Who do you know? So Louis Parks, who's obviously filming this today, is another great example of who do you know, right? So you wanted someone to help you do your podcast and film it, and I took him to EMC, right? He was working with me when he was from the age of 17. You met him there, probably?
Yeah, I think I did.
And then it's like, well, how can we help each other? What do you need? I mean, when you come from that kind of framework, a lot of people are so scared, I think, to come from that framework, because it's not like, and look, the greatest example of that. I mean, I didn't have this here purposely, but this is one of the greatest books of all time, Think and Grow Rich. And Napoleon Hill said in the 1920s, the era of the go-getter is gone. It's the era of the go-giver. How can I give without wanting in return? And that's what Simon Squibb is actually about. But you have to be careful if you're commercial and you've got a business, that you don't give everything away, that there's nothing coming back. But if you come from the place of I want to serve without any expectation, I think that's where the magic is, right? Yeah,
no, definitely. And I think one of the reasons that I want to sort of help people or to do what I can for others is because I never had that support when I was going through my journey. Yeah. When I was doing a project, and I must have been 21, 22 at the time, and that project took me about 3 months, and I got my first check at 21, 22, going back to checks. I got my first check in the post of £47,000 for that 3 month work that I put in. And I was excited, and I told my mum and my dad, and I was kind of knocked down a little bit because it was like, all right, okay, but still make sure that you stay in touch with your job, and in case things fall through,
of course.
And I was like, hold on a minute, congratulate what I've done. I mean, my mum's my biggest supporter. My mum.
Yeah, but they're just trying to protect you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And stop you from falling down. My mum was exactly the same. Yeah. But what's amazing about that is, often I say to people, who's your ideal client? It sounds like your ideal client was the person that you were. Yeah. Because imagine what impact you would have had on you back. Imagine if you had met you back then. Yeah. And that often is quite a typical thing, actually, of who's your ideal client. It's you a few years ago.
Yeah, definitely. So you've done a lot of work in psychology and behavioural sciences. Yeah. An area that I'm very interested in as well. When I left high school, I went to college to do psychology and sociology. But then my mum and uncle moved to Spain, so I moved out with them and stopped doing that. How, with the people that you work with, how do you help them get over their sort of fears? One, I suppose, if they're doing a business like what you do or like what I do, and you have to become a little bit more visible in the online world, how do you help people sort of cope with being visible or people knowing about them?
Is that something you've challenged by?
Massively.
Yeah.
I would say I'm getting to the point now where I'm slowly getting over it by pushing myself to do things like this.
Yeah, well,
I'm speaking on one of Lisa Johnson's events in July.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm getting myself out there, but it's something that I did struggle
Well,
with.
first off, I take my hat off to you for, not that I've got a hat, but I take my hat off to you that you would want to do something about that, because there's attachments that you have, attachments to an outdated version of you, but you're authentic. We're all born with attachments. We come into this world. If we don't have the need for attachment, we'd be dead because we can't survive on our own. But we're also born with this authentic part of us, and that part of us is sidelined at the beginning because it's not really that important. But then when we get a little bit older, 4, 5, 6, we want to be ourselves, and we become a problem to often people around us because we think we're the center of the world, and then we have to conform and sit in. And it sounds like you've always had a drive to be your authentic self, and that voice has got louder and louder to the point where you're prepared to start letting go of an old version of you. And the more you do this, the more you step into, this is me. I don't actually care what you think about me because it's really not that important.
Yeah.
What's all that's important is what I think about myself, my message, what I have to say, my message to the world. And my message is more important than what you think about me, and my message is more important than even what I think about me. And the more you step into that, the more impact that you will have. But it also helps when you're getting helped and supported by people who genuinely care for the space that you're in, and that's where coaching and mentoring. But there's another key element of this, which isn't spoken about very much, and it's this. If I was coaching you, there'd be 3 people in this relationship. There's you, there's me, and there's the person that you're going to be. That person isn't you.
Yeah.
That's the person you could become. And one of the greatest examples of that is Ronnie O'Sullivan, who there's a picture of him. When he came to work with me in 2002, he made an appointment for 2 hours. He stayed at my house for 3 days. He wasn't in a good way, and we just talked. And after the second day, I asked him what he wanted. Because at the beginning, it was just letting him speak about where he was and what was going on. And he'd had a very interesting life. His dad committed murder when Ronnie was 14, and Ronnie's had issues with addictions, and he just needed to talk. Yeah. And that's why one of the greatest things you'll ever do at anyone is just listen. And I asked him what he wanted, and he said he wanted to win. So then I said, how would you know that you'd won? And he looked at me like I was mad. He said, well, because I'd be holding the trophy. I said, was that you in the past? And he went, no, it's going to happen in the future. I said, well, the person that you see, Ronnie, that's not you. Yeah. It could be you. Yeah. But do you want to become that person? Because I can tell you, that person is saying yes to things that you're currently saying no to, and vice versa. I said, Ronnie, I'm like a lawyer. I'm representing that person, and I've come here to tell you, you need to start paying attention to that version of you. And the more you get to know who that person is, and Stephen Bartlett is an amazing example of that. 15 years old, I think you were at that event. Yeah. And he said when he was 15, he knew who he was pursuing. Yeah. And he was at Manchester University or Polytechnic or wherever it was called, and he called up his mum and said, Mum, I don't like it here, I'm leaving. She said, you leave? I'll never talk to you again. Yeah. But he left because he knew who he was. Yeah. Matthew McConaughey won the Oscar in 2013, his Oscar-winning speech. He said when he was 15, he said, someone said to him, who's your hero? He goes, I don't know. So then he said, who's your hero? He said, I don't know. He said, let me think about it. Saw the person a few weeks later. The person said, so who's your hero? He goes, I thought about it. It's me in 10 years. And he saw the person 10 years later, and so are you your hero yet? He went, not even close. I just know who I'm pursuing. Yeah. So when we know who we're pursuing, this isn't necessarily going to work for everybody, but for most people to know that there is something beyond where we are. Yeah. So like for you, for example, you've told me before this, you're very proudly already, how many pounds lighter?
Yeah, so in the last, I can't remember how many months now, but I lost about 3.5 stone.
3.5 stone.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot. That's 14, 28, 42 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a lot. If I showed you that right now, that's a lot of weight. So you in the future, how much more weight have you lost?
A lot more.
Yeah. How do you know that? How do you know?
Because for me, it's not so much the weight on the scales, it's how I feel in myself.
So how do you know?
Because I will feel comfortable in myself.
Yeah, but what do you see?
The numbers go down on the scales.
I see. That's where I think. If I said, "How do you know?" You know because you can see. Look, we all think in pictures.
Yeah.
I work with the England blind cricket team. The bloke's not holding the bat, going, "Shit, I hope I hit the ball." The ball makes a sound, and they make a visual representation.
Yeah.
So when I say, "How would you know?" Well, I can already see you on stage. In my mind, presenting, being fitter, slimmer, healthier, more energy. Do you see that?
I do.
Yeah. See, the more you see it, the more you say, well, what am I doing? Well, this is what I'm pursuing. This is who I'm becoming. And it's always becoming. Because even when you get there, it's not, oh, I've done it. It's always this becoming. And if I was working with you, I would be literally saying, well, it's not about so much you, it's more about this person that we are committed to becoming. And that's going to take, I admire anyone that's going to go on that journey, because that's a classic example of a journey. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort. But once you get into it, once it's the more and more of who you're becoming, it's so hard to then go back. Yeah. And that's what I really specialize in, helping people become a person that they could never go back because they've reinvented themselves. And that's the greatest thing any human being will do, I think, reinvention.
Yeah. I remember seeing one of your stories recently about that, where they did studies asking somebody to picture themselves in the future.
Yeah.
Would you like to just?
Yeah, no, of course. I think
fascinating.
I think for you, again, this is already for anyone who's listening to this. So if I put you in an fMRI machine, which is what looks at brain activity, so I ask you to think of yourself. Yeah. We see a region of the brain that knows you, right? It sees you. I then say, picture a stranger. We see a different region of the brain light up. I then say, if I said, then think of you tonight or this afternoon, you're going to be in Portsmouth this afternoon?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So if I say, think of this afternoon, you already know, you have an idea of you. I'd say that version of you already exists. So we'd see the same part of the brain light up that is, this is me. This is me. But if I say, well, this time next year, think of yourself. For most people, that person's a stranger. Why would you invest in someone you don't know? Empathy is a dying art. The world is so deficient in empathy. We have apathy. I don't care. More. Empathy is, I care for you. What do you need? How can I help you? If you don't have empathy for a version of yourself in the future, why bother? Why just don't bother? Yeah. So I'd like to help you have empathy for this version of you, because you're here to serve others. How much better will you serve others by you being better mentally, physically, emotionally? You'll have more impact on the world than you could probably even imagine, because it's sometimes we think helping people is about what we say and you know, our experience, and of course that's important, but I think what's more important is who you've become. That then you impact the people around you by often saying nothing. And here's someone who loves to talk. Less often can be more.
Yeah, wow, that is incredible. I'm having a few moments here with what you're saying. It's just, it's really.
So when you say a few moments, what do you mean? You're having like epiphanies?
I suppose so.
Your skin tone is changing, your colour's changing.
A little bit red.
Yeah. So, you know, that they call that aha moments, like, where you feel something because I've said something, and then I feel something back because you're feeling something. And this is, again, what makes humans incredible, because I want to be a part of that. Yeah. I want to be sitting in the audience and see that person. And I'd nudge someone and go, that's unreal. I saw him a few years ago. And I tell you what, you wouldn't recognize the person that he was. Yeah. Not because I don't want the accolades to that, because I didn't do it. You did it. It's the same with Louis, seeing who's been filming, you know. I don't need people to tell me I'm great for what I did for him. What I did for him was one of the most beautiful things, because what are we here to do? What are we honestly here to do? Are we not here to serve each other?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Well, because someone served you. They could have served you better. Maybe your parents didn't. Sounds like your parents did serve you well. They served me well. But old people don't have that. But their parents, somewhere along the line, someone served you. What can I do for you? How can I help you? And that's what Martin Luther King said. He did say, yes, I have a dream, which people could see the dream and bought into the dream. But he actually also said, the most important question we should be asking each other is, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What do you need?
Yeah. No, totally. And that's. I enjoyed watching your journey recently. So, on that note of helping others, your travels across Africa recently.
Oh yeah.
I was following that journey with quite a lot of interest. So, again, would you like to just?
Yeah, no.
give a
I
bit
mean,
more
it's a
about-
crazy story. And again, if you want to get involved in that, because we're about to do something really epic. So during lockdown, I became really into Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is a social media app. It's not what it was, but when it came out, it was a savior to so many people, because we were all locked down, and then this app where we could actually talk to people from all over the world was just a lifesaver. And I met some amazing people. I met Matt Fidesz, who's Michael Jackson's bodyguard. Obviously, I've known Rob Moore for years, but through meeting Rob on there, he introduced me to lots of other people, and I met some amazing people. James Burt, Paul Abercrombie, just so many people, right, who became really, really good friends. But what was fascinating was one day there was a guy, a woman I knew. She said, "Can you come into this room, this social media, this room where there was a conversation going on?" I went to the room, and someone said, "Can you help this guy?" So I listened to this guy. I said, "What do you need?" He said, "Well, I look after 101 children. We're running out of money. Can you help?" So I said, "Yeah." I believed him. Right, so we raised 600 quid, I think, got it through someone's PayPal account in Leeds, and the next day he bought all this food and he showed us. Then I asked him what his vision was. And when you know who you are, you can have vision. When you don't know who you are, you can see, but you don't see beyond where you are. He quite clearly knew who he was. He said, I had to have a farm that we could become self-sufficient. He could see this. So I said, well, okay, let's buy him a farm. I've never bought anyone a farm. How much does a farm cost? In Uganda, well, it cost 11,000. We raised the money in 24 hours, and I've been out there, and I've made an amazing film about this, which we haven't actually publicly released the film yet for a couple of reasons. But one is we've bought the farm. They've grown peanuts, guava, corn. They've made money, but we want to help them make more. So the next step is a tractor, because a tractor will allow them to quadruple the yield. They also could rent out the tractor. But then we want to build property, because the children are living in a rented place, often two to a bed. And I've met these kids. And they're just amazing. And it's about giving and serving. So thank you for asking me about that, because it's a unique project. And we want to take people out there and
No, I think it's incredible, and I've enjoyed watching that story unfold, and the relationship you built with them out there.
Thank you.
It's incredible. I aspire to be in a position in the future to be able to do something.
Well, you say aspire. Yeah, I mean, you already are, just by supporting me. It's already a part of it. Even just by saying I support you. I mean, do you not know how much I feed off that and go, God, this is. It makes me realise once again how much of an important project this is. And contribution doesn't always have to be financially. It can be emotionally. Just I support you.
No, I appreciate that. And I think one of the reasons that I was kind of drawn to you and your message, it goes back to when I first saw you at EMC 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think at the time you'd gone through quite.
I snapped my Achilles.
Achilles,
I remember hobbling around.
But you were so full of energy. You were running up and down. I was thinking he's going to do some more damage.
I remember actually going to the venue a few weeks before, and it was taking me so long to walk. That was a funny thing, because I had to learn to. If anyone's ever snapped their Achilles, you have to learn to walk again. But thankfully, I can walk fine now. Touch wood.
Yeah. No, but I did. But that kind of inspired me, because I was thinking, that is a massive injury that you've gone through, and you're skipping about and running up and down this this big hall in. Was that one Brighton?
It was in Brighton. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, that's incredible.
Well, thank you. The other thing, when we see greatness in others, it's only because it's a complete reflection of what is within us.
Yeah.
It's just it's a magnetism. And that's another thing which people often don't realize is they look up to people sometimes. I'm not saying you are looking up to me, but what I'm saying is that we often look up to people rather than realizing what we see in someone is just we see in ourselves. And we can bring that more life if we recognize it.
Yeah.
There's something not separate. It's an energy.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's what I want to do. So with some of my coaching clients, it's I'm not a mindset coach, but I would like to, I suppose, introduce some mindset into what I do with some of the people I work with. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who is just starting out as an entrepreneur, starting out in business, but they are having these fears of, will people like me? Will I be a success? What will my friends think? All of the above.
Well, the fact is they're always going to get haters. They're always going to get that. There's no question about that. That's coming. So you have to learn to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
So a thick skin to me is you learn to have a soft heart, but you've got a very strong back.
Yeah.
Whereas the other side of it is you put on a front, but really you're weak as shit. You could blow on someone and it's all a front. So you've got to learn a few things. You've got to do some work on who actually are you, right? First and foremost. But then also to understand that there is a future version of yourself, right? And we need to start thinking about who's that person, the person that has already built the business. Yeah. So as humans, our brains have evolved. So millions of years ago, our brain didn't weigh very much. It weighed just over a pound. Now it weighs about 3 pounds. Yeah. So it has functions, just like the iPhone has functions now that when Steve Jobs, he probably would be amazed if he could see the iPhone today. What we have is what's called a part of our brain, which is an experience simulator. So we can simulate experience. So we can see the future. Yeah. So that's what you've got to do with these guys. You've got to help them. You've got to help them know who they are, and you've got to help them see beyond where they are to what they want to have done. Yeah. To make them realize that there's some work, there's some real work to do. It's not just about the business; it's about the business of being you. Yeah. In that sense, how do you deal with things like procrastination? Because I will be honest, not so much now because I write down everything that I want to do or achieve for that particular weekend, whatever I'm doing. But before, there were times I'd go and sit in the office and I'd scroll on my phone, I'd read the newspaper online, and I'd probably waste 3-4 hours of just doing those things because I had that many things I wanted to do. I didn't have a clear view of how I was going to do them, so I just sit there and kind of do nothing. Well, everyone is different, right? But if you think about the world that we live in, the most influential organizations, the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, the social media industries, they want you to do that. That's what they want. Yeah. So what do you want? What do you want? What do I want? Yeah, what do you really want? I want to be productive. So I heard Grant Cardone once say, actually I met him on Clubhouse as well, about this whole concept of 10xing, which is your goals are so big, or the person you're going to be is so big, that it sets your heart racing a little bit to the point where it brings into acute awareness of what are you doing? Is this supporting the vision or the future I want to create? So what I'd say to people with activity like that is, schedule it. If you really like looking at stuff, just do it for a bit, but don't be doing it going, I shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. Do it. And you've got to simplify. Procrastination really is just putting something off. It's negotiating with yourself. Yeah. And what you probably need to become better at, we all need to, is stop negotiating. Yeah. Stop debating. Just get in the game. Because once you get in the game, once you start, all the science shows us once we start, it's hard for us because we often, pain receptors can go off in our brain when we think about making calls or doing something that's work, because we're not designed to work for no reason. So there's a part of us that wants to protect, but once we start, those pain receptors turn off. So that's why Mel Robbins, who's written the book, The 5-Second Rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, when you say that, it engages the prefrontal cortex. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, turn the phone off. Let's go. Let's start. And you want to go from procrastination to procrastination. that it's almost like using the trigger of feeling like you're going to procrastinate to go, right, this is a signal to start. Let's go.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's what I need to do. I'm getting better.
Yeah, you are getting better.
I am getting better. So what I would like to move on to now is how you help people. I believe you've got your My 365 coming up.
I've got a 30-day program, which again, I was talking to you about before, because you might have some ideas around this. I have a 30-day program that has literally, the people that go through this program, it's unreal. It's free, which is a problem for some people, because when something's free, they don't value it. Most people don't complete it, even though it's not that difficult. It's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes a day for 30 days, which is a big commitment. That program for the people that have finished it has been a massive game changer. So I would just encourage anyone to do it. I've tried to simplify it in terms of supporting more people in going through the program. And, everyone who finishes the program, I will speak to them for half an hour. Yeah. And people... my time, listen, what I charge for my work, I charge about $5,000 for an hour, right? That's what I charge people. If I speak, that's my rate. So if people wanted to equate that to, or if I had a one-to-one with you, what would that cost? Well, okay, let's call it $2,500 for half an hour. I'm giving that to people. Why? Have I got something to sell them on the back of it? I have a coaching group, but it's not right for most people. It's definitely not right for people who can't complete that program. Yeah. But I realized that I need to create something else, which gives people, it's like 3 days, just gets them a little bit of success, because I want to help the people who are disconnected. But that 30-day program, anyone can do it, and if they want to see how I work, it's all about future self. It's all about what we were talking about, how to build a compelling relationship. And the reason I want people to do it is, first, it helps. But secondly, I do want to have a conversation with them when they've finished, because it's the greatest piece of work I've ever put together. So I want to see, what impact did it have? Yeah. What did it do for you? What did you learn? But I also want to see, who did you become? And if I'd had a conversation with them before that about their future, it wouldn't have been a great conversation. It's a much better conversation when someone has invested 30 days into, who am I capable of becoming?
Yeah. Okay. Does that have a start date, or can people kind of join a little bit?
They can start whenever they want.
Yeah, okay.
Whenever they want. Okay. We're doing something in a few weeks, but people can do it whenever they want.
Okay. If people wanted to find out more about you and your work and what you do,
they can find me.
Yeah, they can find. Yeah, Just search Pete Cohen and you will find him.
Yeah, you will find me.
Yeah, you'll find him.
If you build it, they will come. Have you seen that film? Field of Dreams?
Yes. Yeah.
With Kevin Costner. If you build it, they will come. Yeah.
No. Any last sort of comments from you?
Apart from thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the work that you have done in making a decision to reinvent yourself. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the stage and nudging that person next to me again. You should have seen him a few years ago, mate. I tell you, it's unreal.
Fantastic. Pete, honestly, I can't thank you enough for allowing us to come down today.
Pleasure.
Into your wonderful office. This is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I need one myself, so
yeah,
I'll be taking some snaps and
do it.
I'll show you when it's built. But yeah, thank you very much for today, and we look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Thank you.